Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 21-day Mindful Movement Challenge. For today's sequence, we'll be mostly standing, aside from when we go to do our breath work, which we can do sitting in a chair or on walks, or you could even be laying down for that. I want to start with today's sequence with one of my very favorite movements in the myofascial yoga program, which is called the slinky. Now, if you don't know what a slinky is, it used to be these coiled up toys that you could move your hands up and down, and the whole coil would roll to whichever side you were pushing it up and down on. So if you don't know what a slinky is, just pretend. If you do know, we're going to pretend that we're holding one in our hand. And we're also going to pretend that our legs themselves are a slinky. So this really helps to connect the right side of the body and the left side of the body to each other. This is also an amazing bilateral integrative movement. So really helps to integrate that right and left side of your brain. For the slinky, you need to have a fairly wide stance. It doesn't have to be super wide. You may adjust as we go. But for now, just kind of feeling into how wide do your feet need to be to kind of scooch back and forth and shuffle your weight from one side to the other. So just feel into that and kind of get yourself in a good, stable feeling, steady stance. And then let's do, before we do the slinky, let's do our 3 breaths to really fully arrive on our mats. Each exhale making whatever sound you choose. And really giving yourself permission to let this time here be just for you. Take another breath or two. Allow your breath to just return to normal. Maybe allow your knees to soften slightly. Allow your body to slightly sway back and forth. We'll go back to using some imagination and boost those creative circuits in the brain today. So let's imagine. Imagine that all your joints are springy or spongy. Your body's fluid. And we're going to imagine that your legs are a slinky, one joined unit, all the way connected from the right foot to the left foot, all the way. And if you were playing with a slinky or using that, you can also hold one in your hands and just imagine that as even the hands are connected to it. So as your hands coil that slinky down the right, all the energy moves all the way down to the right foot. And then you're going to help it come all the way up the left and all the way down, even below the left foot. And then we're going to just go back and forth. Really imagine that you're playing with that slinky, coiling down and up, down the right, down the left. And again, you may find that now once you really get the movement, you need to adjust your stance. Maybe you need to be wider. Maybe your knees need to have less of a bend. Maybe you need to have less of a bounce or more of a bounce. But let's go through this slinky here. We'll go into about 5 or 6 more repetitions. And when you've finished with your slinky, you can return to standing in an ordinary stance. So you can feel into where you want to have your feet under you now. And take a breath. Maybe a sigh. And get a sense of how you feel now. Has anything changed in your body? Do you notice anything shifting in your nervous system state? And where we're going to go next is into moving the spine in all directions. So we're going to incorporate a lot of what we've done so far in the challenge with a bit of back bending and forward bending and side bending and twisting. So we'll go in all movements of the spine, and I'll show you each movement, and then we'll do it into a little bit of a flow. So let's start with the side bend movement. We're going to take the legs probably back to around the same stance you had for your slinky. You can shift and change as we go. You might need to adjust. But the side bend, we're going to reach the right arm up. We're going to lengthen through the right side of the body, and then we're going to slide the left hand down the left leg. It's a bit like triangle, except for that we're keeping the feet facing forward. Triangle in yoga. And then what we're going to do is just feel that on the other side. So this doesn't have to be much of a movement. It can be even just a micro movement, even just reaching and lengthening one side and not the other, just putting attention to one side and not the other. And then how we're going to incorporate it into a flow is we're going to touch our fingertips together. And then we're going to start the side bend and then reach the hands apart. And so you can look at me if you're not sure. So we're going to reach our fingertips together. And then we're going to take the hands apart. So as you're coming back to standing straight, you're going to be reaching those fingertips to touch each other. And so we're going to start already with the elbows moving into the side bend, and then we're going to reach our hands apart. And then we're going to bring the fingertips together, starting to lengthen through that left side. Fingertips still touch until the very end, and then we're going to reach. So now that you have that, let's put that together into a little bit of a mindful movement flow. And you might, just in kind of getting acquainted with the movement, have discovered you need to shift or adjust, or maybe you need a wall behind you, or maybe you need something to hold on to. So really take care of yourself and get it the way that it's just right and good for you. And then we're going to put it into a flow. So what we're going to do is we're going to exhale as we touch the fingertips together. And then as we start to raise that right elbow up, we're going to begin our inhale. Inhaling as we're reaching the hands apart. And then we're going to exhale, the fingertips touch. We're going to start to turn the other way. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fingertips touch. And just, you don't have to do exactly this way. You can really kind of modify it and get it so that it feels just right and good for you. Maybe your legs need to come wider. Maybe you need to be doing this one sitting in a chair. And let's go for about 5 more rounds. So really coordinating that breath and movement. Exhale, touch the fingertips. Inhale, reach them apart. Exhale to touch. Inhale. Maybe it becomes a little bit of a dance. Maybe you wiggle a little bit into it. Maybe the knees bend. Movement can be fun. Movement can be enjoyable. If you're not enjoying it, please change. Put on some music, make it fun. All right. Just check in with the body now. The side bend movements are so good for the breath as we stretch that lateral fascial line. So maybe just track that for a moment. It's easier to breathe. And then we're going to go into, this movement is kind of like a cat and cow in yoga. Just a little bit of a back bend, forward bend, but we're going to do this very micro. So the forward bend part, what will get you to imagine, and you can do this with a bit of a bend in the knee, is, those big beach balls or big exercise balls. We're going to pretend we have one of those in front of us. And we're going to just lean forward and hug that ball. And the fingertips can touch. And then as we're lifting up, we're going to lift up and take the hands back. We're kind of coming back into catch the rain with the palms up. And then we're going to exhale, hug our ball. And we're going to inhale and catch the rain, but with the back. Exhale, ball. Inhale, reach the arms, pour that water out the back of the thumb. Two more of these. Inhale, really reaching the chest up too, looking up. This feels so good to open the front body. Exhale. All right. And then let's just shake all of that off. Do a little jiggle and wiggle. Last movement to complete all directions of the spine will be to do a little bit of a twist. We have been doing our twist with the palms up so far in this challenge, so let's change it up and do the twist with the palms down today. So checking with your stance, we want to have that nice tensegral range, just meaning that we're feeling a felt sense of integrity and stability in our stance. And then we're going to bring our fingertips to touch palms down. And we're going to twist and turn as we open the hands and turn to look at the thumb behind you. So exhaling, we're going to bring fingertips together. Inhaling, we're going to turn. However, some people find it's better to exhale on the turn. So feel free to just choose that. So let's bring that into a little bit of a flow. We're going to bring fingertips together and twist and open. Look behind you. Exhale together. Inhale, open. And or go the opposite way with your breath. Let's just do two more of those. Fingertips to touch. Exhale to twist if that's how you're doing it. And then bringing the hands together, shaking everything out. And let's go back and do our slinky one more time. This is a very active class, so maybe just check in with your energy levels. Do you have anything left to do a little bit more of the bouncy side-to-side movements of the slinky? So choosing your stance, maybe feeling into that springiness quality of the body again. Shifting weight side to side just to check in with that. And then we're going to imagine the legs as slinkies, and we're holding a slinky in our hands. So we're going to shift all the way over to the right leg, and then we're going to bounce it up and over to the left. Now we're just going to really feel into how springy, spongy and bouncy can you get your body to feel in this movement. If you have some music playing, maybe you want to just take this into a little bit of a dance. How easy could you make this? How fun could you make this? Let's do about 5 more. And returning to your mat. Maybe shaking everything out. We're going to do a little bit of a breath. This is maybe more on the side of breath meditation end of the spectrum than vigorous breath practice. So with that in mind, choose if you want to sit or lay down. For today's practice, we're basically doing a mindful breath technique, and this one is going to involve you coming up with your personalized mantra. And how we're going to do that is tracking the breath for a moment or two here. And for today's purposes, it can be inhale or exhale. And get a sense of what is the quality of your breath in this moment that you could enjoy. Is there anything about your breath here and now that will be pleasant or nourishing or enjoyable for you to experience? Maybe it's energizing, maybe it's refreshing, maybe you notice the breath quiets or calms you. And if there's nothing about the breath that you enjoy or could enjoy in this moment, then I'll invite you to choose a different anchor than the breath altogether. So maybe you go with a memory instead, or perhaps just bringing a visualization to mind of petting a cat or being in nature. Once you've chosen, really zoom in to that particular quality. What is it about the breath or your anchor? What is it about your anchor that you enjoy the most in this moment? Is there a way to bring it into one word? Your favorite thing about your anchor in this moment. And that's going to be your mantra. And so all we're going to do for the next maybe 2 minutes is breathe in and out and say your mantra to yourself along with the breath. So if your word is peaceful, you're going to inhale. And as you're inhaling, say the word peaceful. And as you're exhaling, say the word peaceful. And you may notice that it takes you a little longer to say the word on the exhale if the exhale is longer than the inhale. Is there a way to get the timing to match up just right so that you can say the word in the same amount of time it takes you to inhale and to exhale? You have a very short word like joy, you may have to get creative with drawing out the sound of joy. And after maybe 2 more breaths, we're going to drop that anchor. So letting the word go and drifting into the experience of whatever's echoing, whatever's left over. Letting go of all effort. And really allowing yourself now to experience that quality just as it is. And I really want to invite you. This is such a juicy way to practice intentional breathing. So if you're enjoying it, I really want to invite you to stay here for several more minutes and really take it in. And so with that, I'm going to leave you for today with a namaste.